start screaming and go in, or they just watch the turrets go down. However, some of those early moves go wrong. If the team fight items come in earlier than expected for Kingzone, then there's always the chance you run like a hot knife through butter and just take down Jin Air where they stand.
And a lot of cheeky gank pass that Cuz can get through as well. I have a feeling this Rek'Sai is going to be very important in getting Kingzone through what can be some dangerous lanes. A lot of lane power in the pickups from Jin Air. Ezreal Yuumi, a little bit of nerfs coming in and hasn't been super successful, but against a Sivir Nautilus, might find themselves having a better time.
Interesting to see if we see those interaction changes on the you and me actually heard, because we've seen so many Aatroxes overstep. We've definitely seen changes reverberate and create some troubling moments. Kingzone say, let's just go into a teamfight comp. We don't learn anything new about Kingzone in game number 1, but they come in heavily expecting to take down Jin Air. Jin Air have a draft that can win. This draft is very oppressive from ahead. You add a Baron to it, oh boy, does it boil over. But if you trip up in the execution early game so important, then things can fall apart very swiftly.
Yeah, things could be slipping out of the hands of the Jin Air Green Wings, but it hasn't just yet. See whether they can make it work as everything comes together as we make our way onto the Rift for game 1. Okay, game number 1. Jin Air.
What are you doing, Zoe?
She's just dancing around.
Whoa, I've never seen Zoe this close to the camera before.
Grace, like, I wonder whether he got the heads up that he should be doing that.
Isn't it funny? When it was dancing so close to the camera, my first thought is, wait, are you going to bash your head into the camera? It looked like that, right?
Be careful, be careful, be careful.
But I guess Zoe was all-knowing about the camera spot. Camera zooms out.
Now I'm imagining that it's the little camera guy on the cloud from Mario Kart.
Lakitu?
Lakitu. I'm imagining we're now in the eyes of a Lakitu camera.
Lakitu, the most notable was the fact that he was the camera holder in Super Mario 64.
Yeah, Super Mario 64, right.
I don't know if that was his first appearance. He might have been in Super Mario Bros. 2.
No, he was in Super Mario 1. He'd throw things out of the sky. Yeah.
Speaking
of
back in the day. Throwing things out, let's throw out the runes and show you that Cut Down is still taken. Now, because of the base health buff, i.e. more base health, it does nerf Cut Down's ability to pump out damage. Level 1, we just go all in.
Yep, Tucson gets the Aftershock, takes a fair bit of damage back, but that's a double pop on the Boomerang as Deft gets that one back off cooldown, and Kingzone have smashed level 1.
That's a health trade right there.
Is it? Or is that just health going down as you and me is going to get Kellen out of trouble? But it's a bit of furnace into the fire right here. Kingzone versus Jin Air in the bottom lane, at least still.
Turns out even with the base health changes, the Q does a lot of damage. Marung's level 2 all-inning. Speaking of all-ins.
Yeah, there's the dredge line. Tucson's going to have to flash. Oh, got a lot of value out of his Aftershock, but it's not going to be enough. Decides not to flash. Holds onto that one for lane strength as First Blood goes down in favor of Jin Air. Malrung once again with that power.
Only good news story is that Kingzone get Malrung's flash. They were never going to get out there. Smart read from Tucson. The moment that he connected with the Q, he's too far behind enemy lines. Guides Deft away, and Deft doesn't have to use any summoners. Very nice gank path coming through from Malrung. It's red buff into bot lane gank. Cool stuff.
Interesting that Deft is still able to play up in this lane regardless, but knows that there's no Jarvan hanging around the area. Did manage to get a ward down, which was intelligent.
That's what you mean, not going to really be able to just chase you down. Lane in a really awkward spot, so from a greedy side, you also really don't want to allow a freeze in an awkward spot in the lane. Tucson's back. Powers in, couldn't really buy anything on that back. He's actually bringing back the minion dematerializer on the Nautilus here to try to get lane control, and just given how oppressive Yuumi can be, it's another tech choice to try to find a way to interact positively with a Yuumi lane.
Well, speaking of positives, Cuz has been able to get through this jungle a little bit faster than Malrung, who of course went for that gank on the bottom side. Rascal's Umbral Dash here on the top side of the map is not going so well. But this Aatrox was going to have a rough time in a range versus melee matchup into the Jace.
Definitely a warm return for Tana, getting a nice side of the matchup. When electrocute in order to harass a bit harder, so double electrocute for the solo laners on the side of Jin Air. Cuz walks up. Wants to get damage on Grace. This could be a lot.
Yeah, hell yes. Hail of Blades, remember. Yeah. Oh, I thought Cuz was going to go for that flash, but of course Grace had his as well, not wanting to trade.
That was a lot of damage, as we should expect from early game Rek'Sai. Counter jungling will happen here as well. You always pay some sort of a price when you go for a level 2 gank, but not the steepest when the kill was confirmed by Root earlier.
Another one. Threads the Needle does too, and he's landed every dredge line, whether it's good or bad in this lane. Certainly good to know that his eye is in, and the CS is absolutely even, despite a minion wave now being eaten by Root. We'll be slightly ahead, but with the fact that Deft was 1v2 for a lot of that, it's a lot of kudos over to the Sivir player, who has a pickaxe on his first back and hasn't had to use teleport.
Cuz returns to a bit more normalcy. Mid lane was just farming the entire time, but the back timing for Grace couldn't be far superior, given that Nayeon got the help out from Cuz. He's Hail of Blades, so he's looking for that upfront burst. See if top lane gets any help, because if you can even blow Tana's flash, there are always all-in options for Rascal if Jace overextends.
Yeah, you can imagine that Cuz held onto his flash and didn't go for it on Grace because he wanted that as gank assist. So 5 minutes into the game, still looking to see where Cuz decides to attack next. Looks like he's around the mid lane at the moment, as Deft is 1 versus 3 as that ward goes down.
I mean, he's gone as far as 1v9, so 1v3 is another day in the park.
And of course, this is Deft Sivir. He's got a ridiculous scoreline on this champion at the moment. Just checking in 21 KDA in summer.
How many games?
That's over 2. So, you know, sample size is not the smallest.
How many times has he died? Once or twice?
I believe probably once, if it's 21. If it's twice, it's pretty hard to have a bigger number than that. If he's died twice and he's got 40 kills in 2 games.
Oh,
there we go.
I love the mind games of the prowling projectile because the spell shield came up, so he just twirled it away. No free mana for you. Bot side.
It's about the timing, you and me. That might be that nerf that you're talking about being actually effectual, as Cuz has a bevy of wards to eat up here on the bottom side. There's all of them. A lot of value, actually. There's another dredge line. This one's going to go wide. It's Tucson actually taking a lot of damage in response. That's what happens if you take the return damage without proccing the aftershock.
But if you can just kind of grin and bear a lane where Tucson dies, roams, other things happen, and Deft goes CS for CS with Ezreal Yuumi, what are Ezreal Yuumi really achieving? Ezreal can salvage most lanes, so the Yuumi doesn't seem to be pushing it over the line. So it's kind of troubling here that for now, at least, Deft's getting a free lane against a champion known for lane domination.
Now that was real cute use of the prowling projectile. Sorry to cut you off there just a little bit, Papa, as I'm going to cut myself off. Tana down to 400, offers back a bit of a trade onto Rascal, who didn't have a lot of follow-up damage. It's getting explosive towards the top side. Grace going to get pushed back, but the flash comes out. Trouble bubble landed. Grace not able to follow up with anything other than more sparkles. The portal jumps forward, and Nayeon does manage to get the siege minion.
Well played by both sides there. That was pretty cool to watch. Flash is drawn out, as you would expect. Couldn't have flashed any later if you were Grace, but you get a damage trade to ensure you're not down summoners and at a health bar disadvantage. Kingzone are even maybe just going to pick up the Drake on the bot side around the Yuumi lane. So it feels like Yuumi is being a bit of a passenger here. She needs to get involved, but alone, not usually the way that Yuumi rolls.
Yeah, Catbook moving on over as Tucson is at about half health, but Cuz and Nayeon get over the wall very easy. Shifting sands and some tunnels, and then Tucson and Deft walk back down to their lane. Jeanette caught napping, unable to stop that Drake freely being taken by Kingzone.
Around the area where Malrang found inroads, Kingzone get an objective lead. What we've kind of learned from Kingzone, because I think a lot of people have tried to pigeonhole Kingzone. I know on the Korean side they call them the G2 of the LCK, and I think there's definitely some truth to that. People talk about their aggression, and again, it depends on how you define aggression. It's not like they're going kill a minute every time. The Afrika series was more of a movement away from the norm rather than the norm.
Yeah.
What we will say is the G2 comparison, I think, is true in terms of decisiveness. I think they're a very decisive team that knows which objective to go for, when to pull a trigger, and they pull the trigger well. Definitely not to the degree of G2, but that is how Kingzone have kind of rebounded or rebuilt from their roster changes. And so far, they've made good moves in an area we assumed would be Jin Air favored, especially after the first blood went the way of Jin Air.
Yeah, although it's very hard to count Kingzone's bottom lane out. Despite everything else, Tucson and Deft have always been good. at the beginning of spring where I think prospects for Kingzone weren't super high.
Cuz is farmed up a storm here.
He is hard farming. He is ahead of his mid laner as Rascal's going to go down very low. That's the flash to get the knock up on the flag and drag as Rascal is going to flash to try and get the knock up himself, but he's unable to. That was a waste of a summon a spell there, Rascal, as Jinner easily grab it on the top side.
Definitely at first appears like a waste, but did get double flash from Jinner. So it's one of those things where if Kingzone could profit from the double flash being down, maybe with a topside Rift Herald, where they can turn easier, maybe it works, but you're right. You're 2 for 1, but a kill going the way of Jinner is just a straight up win for Jinner. You just wonder why you'd flash in this zone if it's not to get uneven trade. We watched the replay. Very proactive flash from Tana. Gotta say, comes in, again, hasn't played that many games on stage. He does things, which I appreciate from a rookie or a young player when it comes to the LCK stage. Always trying to make things happen and showing good synergy with his jump.
Yeah, really nice stuff. And Malrung hasn't had a lot of synergy with too many of his laners either.
Or team in general.
Yeah, it has been certainly one of his biggest criticisms, so good to see that him and Tana are working well together. Kingzone are going to move over and they still have Soul Vision around Shelly.
And now you need to be very careful in how you approach with 2 flashes down, otherwise the Emperor's Divide kills.
Yeah.
So the Rift Herald return here is, I think, a good call from Kingzone, running straight to the scene of the crime. Again, trying to get an objective where they lost a member.
Well, it's actually 3 members without flash. All 3 on screen right now don't have theirs because of the work that Neon did earlier. So Shelly easily goes over just based on summoner spell trades. And this 0-2 at the top of the screen, I feel like it's telling a lie to us, Papa Smithy. It doesn't feel like Kingzone are behind. They've taken both of the neutral objectives on the map that are in the river, and it feels like they're just happily playing towards a powerful mid game.
But I think it's just one of those moments where, again, we talk about proactive. When someone dies, there's always a cost. At the minion wave, get in a weird spot. Does someone have to use summoners? Is a big ult down? If you take a step back, you say, okay, well, both the flashes are down. There's going to be a reset second because obviously the Death Chamber is a bit faster than having to push out a wave and back again. Why don't we go straight back there and maybe we just get kills or we get a Rift Herald? Speaking of going straight back there, though.
Yep, Umbral Dash is going to be off cooldown. He gets popped out of the Cataclysm, but it doesn't matter. He's straight into the Death Chamber. That is the second one onto Rascal in not too many minutes.
Both teams return to the scene of the crime. Both teams find inroads, but that's just kills to the side of Jinner. Now, kills are really good for Jinner Green Wings. The reason why I say that is they've got the poke comp that wants to load up early. So getting those core items done earlier, Atlas, does mean that a 4-1 or even just a 5-man collapse in the lane is stronger because you have those cheap, very powerful items earlier. They're piling on lots of things here. They might just go for the dive.
Yeah, Root's going to teleport in. They're trying to just get this dive down. Yumi's in on top of him as well. The last chapter is going to be there, but Tana is going to die for it. A 1-for-1, you'll take it as Kingzone.
Not the cleanest by any means.
And they're going to lose even more because tempo was in favor of Kingzone also. They'll move Cuz over here. He's got his Warrior Enchant. He's had it for ages. He's double the CS of Malrung right now. Yes, Malrung's been landing the successful ganks. That was a cute one. Has to blow his cleanse in order to get out of it.
He did the I'm going to avoid and re-engage. But he's trying to do too many things and had to cleanse.
Might have been a whoopsie. Not entirely sure. But Root hasn't even got his last... there it is. The last plate does go down. 12.5 minutes in here. Top side of the map. Of course, there is another plate inside the dead turret, but he has to wait for another minion wave. 2 turrets go down bottom side of the map, and Kingzone transition into this Infernal Drake. You know, that ain't a good trade.
If you know what you want and you know how to get it, this meta provides you more options, Atlas. They're down 3 kills, but they're up in gold. That's what happens if you're making the better calls in the early game. People say that macro is gone. No, defensive macro is a lot harder to pull off, but proactive macro around getting things is even more important than ever before, and stopping other people from getting things has been nerfed in trade. We watch the replay here, and yes, the dive comes off. I believe that should have been an EQ that was hit by Malrung. It missed, and so Tana ends up dying. Very awkward.
The Infernal Chain was actually great from Rascal as well.
To see Kingzone, again, ahead in gold, even though it doesn't look at it. If you just tab in the game and don't see that information, you might be understandably thinking that things are better for Jinner than they are.
I was actually thinking about going in quite early here onto Tana.
Can he kill him alone? The answer is probably yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Bringing a friend is smarter, but he could probably solo him.
Wants to hold on to the cooldown of that tunnel, wants to start this one off as quickly as possible. 160 from the plate, but has that cost him his life is the question. Great Prey Seeker comes in from Cuz as he's tracking. Wants to find the knock-up. Oh my god, that damage. That's real silly. Tan tries to get out of there, and I think the chase could have potentially been on, but...
He had a lane ward, but he didn't have a deep ward, so he decided to just stick with the chunk out and be fine scenario. That's the move you make when you know you're ahead. If you're behind, then you definitely go for it, right? Because you're trying to make up for something.
Yeah.
That's probably a good sign for Kingzone fans. They're not over-pursuing for something, but doesn't mean no kill comes down. Here are the turret plates. It's 160, so Kingzone, in spite of having many more deaths, up in turret plates. They've got the Drakes as well, and just a Sivir winning lane, often 1v2, is kind of blowing my mind.
Yeah, Defton just has a thing with, I think his Sivir affinity level is just higher than a lot of other players.
You say that, but come on, he's just got red dot syndrome, we know. He doesn't need to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare to get his red dots on.
No, doesn't need to get the side from the shop or anything like that, stealing other people's weapons, just throws a disc around.
We see this build a lot more often. If you're wondering, Essence Reaver BF Sword is Ricochet Q will always kill him anyway. So
this will always kill a Mulrung unless he's got a stopwatch. The depth charge comes in. The final chapter came out from Kellen, but got cancelled pretty early with that depth charge. Rascal clearing out some vision. The teams are going to back away.
Ace is down. Gauge threat of Jarvan potentially lowers as well. But yeah, the wave clear deal, it's why you don't go Zeal, you go that BF Sword in order for a bit more pushing. Then you can kind of go whichever way you want. i.e. second for more burst is fine. We're seeing a little bit more recently. Can just go into a Zeal from here. Kingzone trying to take over the map, and it's way before Baron spawns, but it's right on time for a very healthy top outer turret to be indefensible for Grace.
And you saw Cuz there as well, actually moving over a ward that he could have cleared just to make sure he added extra pressure so that Neon could get these few extra auto attacks on this outer turret before the minion wave went down.
And are you noticing what's happening? You go up top side, you don't get the turret, but what did Jin Air do? They say, oh, we don't have vision there, we need to defend this top turret. Grace is trying to clear as almost Luden's Echo Zoe. When Jin Air should be in their power spike, they're actually being pulled into multiple lanes rather than saying, hey, try and wave clear against this and showing up Jace, Zoe, and Ezreal. So this is the point where Jin Air's comp is supposed to be kind of smashing and grabbing, and Kingzone saying, we need our items, we need to be able to team fight a little bit later, we need a bit more gold in the game. So if you can actually out-rotate the enemy and make them come to you when you should be weak, we're going to get to a point where it's cool story. Jin Air shows up and just gets team fought to death. So this is Kingzone kind of playing Jin Air like a fiddle, and Jin Air not being able to know how do we actually get them to come to where our strength is.
Well, Jin Air actually just haven't been making the proactive plays, right? Apart from Mulrung ganking some lanes, which is what junglers generally want to be doing.
But agreed, but what is the proactive play now is rolling up in mid, control warding both sides and saying, cool turret, we're going to siege it to death. And then not being able to do that because Kingzone's doing other stuff first that Jin Air haven't already prepped vision to have a counterplay. So if you don't have vision set up, you kind of have to just defend.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up point, is that Jin Air just haven't been the ones making the decision first and making Kingzone react to them, because out of Kingzone 1 games so far this season, it's been proactivity and it's been understanding what they need to do to win out the game. Jin Air do move into the mid lane, but Deft can clear mini waves way too fast.
And so what would a better team with a siege comp have done? They would have pushed out a wave, recalled for control wards, and set up vision on both sides to make the enemy come to them. Instead, they're looking to team fight Atlas, and they're not a team fight comp.
Well, they might have to. Kingzone are now grouping around the Ocean Drake. Does a fair bit of damage there to Deft, as you can see. This will be their second. Not exactly the highest value, but Kingzone probably want to fight. Good True Shot Barrage. Does land a lot of damage as Tucson into the backline, does find Tana as the flash forward from Rascal. He gets hammered back, but there's no inner turret. And he is about as dead as you can be, pulled out with the dredge line. And now Kingzone are thinking about inhibitor turrets.
And they're just going to ride this minion wave in, and Jin Air realized too late, A, we don't have an inner turret, and B, that minion wave's coming in, we're going to lose an inhibitor.
Yeah, they got two minion waves, actually. There's another one that they prepared earlier. Neon could have set up a sun turret, but decides to hold on to the cooldown. This turret is dead. Can Jin Air actually find the fight? Good dredge line, body blocking there from Kingzone, as Tucson may actually fall. Okay, last chapter is going to come out, but Tucson flashes it. And now Neon able to get out with the shifting sands. Cuz gets the knock up on a Malrong, takes half of his health bar.
Tana has TP when he respawns, but they can't chase enough an Atlas before mid lane Outer goes down. The inhibitor line is broken.
And no inhibitor going down there as well, so Jin Air not going to necessarily be able to freeze this one out and try and get that farm. This minion wave is going to probably just go down to the next wave that's going to come out of Jin Air's base, and Jin Air moved 5 members into the mid lane to take this outer turret, but it's going to be their first of the game, Papa. That top outer turret didn't even fall down.
No, it didn't, Atlas. They're getting to run around. We said playing like a fiddle, and think people were thinking fiddlesticks. Now we're thinking of an actual fiddle. This is very much the musical instrument, because in all of the perceived chaos on Jin Air's side, Kingzone are creating chaos to stop a siege, and now they're just engaging.
Yeah, another dredge line lands. I think Tusin's just throwing them out off cooldown if there's someone in range. And it's working. Tana comes down. We'll see whether he actually... No, he doesn't. He's not going to do that. I thought he might try and leave these minions so that Jin Air would be able to start some sort of freezing process, try and get some money in.
You're so excited
I'm LSing really
to use
hard
your
right now.
LS prepared analysis. Yeah. I got to do it at MSI when we actually had G2 set up a freeze. Now, they didn't intend to set up a freeze. They just... The best thing they could do with the bad scenario they got themselves in was a freeze, and it was cool to watch. But in this particular game, Jin Air don't set up the vision like we mentioned. Don't use the priority times you get by pushing out first to put down vision. They instead just respond to a team fight, which they shouldn't be doing anyway. The inner turret being down kind of ruins them. This is very much the pants down scenario.
Yeah.
For Jin Air, they got to lace back up those pants, Atlas. Otherwise, if you fly by the seat of your pants against Kingzone, you just lose.
And that is what's happening. And I just love the fact that Tusin gives away first blood, and he's still playing as confidently, as aggressively. It's like nothing can phase this guy.
It's helpful when Deft doesn't even apparently notice that his lane partner leaves the lane.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether by death or roam timings, he's like, hey, I don't give a crap about the cat.
Yep.
Deft confirmed.
There's also a joke there about, Deft and his lane partners, but they were, over the last, 3 years, Mako and Marta, so absolutely fantastic lane partners, actually.
Those lane partners, what did they do? They stood next to Deft and built him up.
Oh my god, well, Tusin's just going in. Yep. There's going to be the wipe of the floor, and Deft picks up the kill, hand delivered by some Sand Soldiers.
Good call by Neon. He flashed early, so therefore the counter flash was always there for Neon. He gets the scoop. A nice scoop of Zoe. Tasty, tasty, tasty for Kingzone. They're almost equal in kills, and we know in every other metric they're definitely well ahead. It's only 4,000 gold. It feels like way more.
It does. And now it's only a conversation about Baron that we really need to have. In Kingzone, they're not even going to let us. They're just going to dive right into that pit. Neon actually getting just over the wall. Check the Conquering Sands. But yeah, okay. True Shot Barrage comes in and misses the Baron, and therefore Neon gets out.
We get out. We take a deep breath. Kingzone continue, though, the full court press that was exactly what Jin Air's comp was drafted to do. Siege, threaten, and force Kingzone to fight. That's why Azir's fall apart, because they're like, okay, I don't have my team fight items, but I got to fight, I guess. And
yep. And then I go in, and then I'm dead before I can even really press an R button, or my R button doesn't actually do anything. I understand, and that's why, there's been so much notoriety for Azir across the world.
That's
so far this season.
Azir build. Comet, Ludens, we've seen a lot of this season for a bit of burst. Then just chucking in the Nashor's too. And this is just kind of doing both, right? It's an expensive build, but it's going to look good. When was the flash used here? Okay, the flash was used, and unfortunately Azir had already closed distance, so always going to die there.
Has to trade flashes for it, so both mid laners will have that one back up again.
Infernal Drake is up.
Are they going to do it again?
Yes, they are.
Sorry, I thought that might be the case. Oh, Spell Shield not even necessary.
Nope.
That time where you wish your opponent had better skill shot accuracy. Jin Air moved back to the mid lane as the Infernal Drake is going to spawn. Jin Air was able to actually steal away the Ocean Drake from before, but ultimately lost to their inhibitor turret for it.
We were focused on the fight at the top, so we missed the Drake take. Rascal's actually caught on the flank here. This is a good turn by Jin Air.
Yeah, last chapter comes in, but the Umbral Dash gets Rascal out into safety. There's the knock up onto Malrong, was trying to get the Infernal, but double now is circling around Kingzone. Great spell shield there from Deft, and no trouble bubble to find the mark, as once again, everyone can go over walls apart from Deft in this comp, and Deft seems to be in the right position all the time.
This was a better contest, though, from Jin Air, using that final chapter early to turn onto. Rascal was looking for his teamfight reset plays with his ultimate. Was the right call, because that's not fully engage in a fight. It's trying to catch someone. Pick and poke is what they're all about. Unfortunately for them, no Drake from it. Another objective to Kingzone. The Ocean Drake to next spawn is a bit of a non-factor, so I imagine this game is going to be very, very Baron-centric now. All rewards could be best to use top side for the next incoming minutes. All the sleight of hand later. Deft has most of his way to a Zeal item. How did Jin Air do it? They got to find those control wards in their red jungle, hit a trouble bubble, and delete someone. Otherwise, things should come up, Kingzone Dragon X.
Well, it feels like Tucson has a magnet on his dredge line, and everybody else has gotten to huge item spikes here for Kingzone. You've got the 30% CDR with the Ghost Blade and the Black Cleaver coming in for Rascal. Cuz has himself the most luxury items. He's 16 CS behind his top laner, for goodness sake.
And that's a cool build. Nautilus is going for first item Stoneblade.
That's my point.
That is not a support item. There's no Night's Vow or Zeke's. Usually choose between them. We talked about those trouble bubbles. That's going to hurt.
Yeah, it's going to do a lot of damage, but Cuz goes immediately into his stopwatch, and now the follow-up teleport is going to come in. Largely defensive, as Tucson takes a lot of damage. Now on the hunt has been popped. Death sidesteps the trouble bubble. It's a lot of cooldowns now, but no kills to come in for Jin Air.
They draw a TP, which is what those sort of Zoe bubble plays can do, but it's not the one they want. It's not the Aatrox, but it's still a good look. Jin Air walking up, trying to use a moment. They want to force out this Aatrox TP. Then maybe they can play the map a little bit easier. But you got to be respectful. The threat behind Kingzone is undeniable.
Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of wards around here, but in goes Tucson, does have a stopwatch as Root goes down extraordinarily low as in goes the Rek'Sai. The Void Rush is enough to get the kill, but he is followed up on with a death of his own. Jin Air, 4 versus 4. Do they fancy it is the question. Remember, this is a good position for them. Lower health bars on the engaged threats on Kingzone means that the poke can be more effective.
Ezreal died straight up. The Rek'Sai follow was enough. There wasn't actually the cat in order to top up at all. No TP actually on the reset. Let's watch this one. I just wasn't expecting an Ezreal death. Watch the replay. Goes in aggressively, and you already talked about the targeted engages. Falls low, and Rek'Sai says thank you very much. Jumps like a cat actually with the full range. Cat? It's hard to say. It feels like Rek'Sai's doing a better job. Less adorable, but definitely not declawed.
Yeah, I was going to say this cat has claws, the other one has a hook, and it's showing.
But is the laning phase being so comfortable after the change in base health actually the cat being declawed Atlas? Because Sivir getting away with a 1v2 laning phase was a big story in this game. Baron's still pretty healthy. It's around 6,000.
Yeah, trouble overlands. That means that Neon does have to get out of here, and what you're seeing is the fact that Kingzone, despite no Mountain Drakes, they've got Azir Sivir with 3 items basically completed on the Sivir. He will have it on his next back. A lot of damage on that Baron in a pretty short time.
And if they are free hitting in a team fight, you win it. That's just how it goes. Don't even need a front line. As long as the right Emperor's Divide comes in, you might be able to do it all on your own. And that is why teams look at Azir with lustful eyes, because he can do everything when he gets his items together and map control is his. That is the case for Kingzone. Definitely not something you could have assumed against the early spikes from Jin Air, but something that they were able to pick up from their own good work. They push through, and if they really want to make this game about Baron, they desperately want this outer mid lane turret that's a sight for sore eyes at 27 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Impressive. I believe the only turret that Jin Air have taken is that mid-outer turret, so having that extra ability to shove this wave further is actually benefiting this Jin Air squad a lot, which is why you've seen a lot of red wards around that Baron pit. Deft is positioning himself bottom side, though, as Kingzone are once again posturing around Baron, and they're thinking about trading Baron for a Nexus.
Exactly. They want actually an inhibitor, I think, is the easier objective. But remember, there's no inhibitor turret here, so Deft, without teleport, if he shows up, they'll get an inhibitor. But if he shows himself, the Baron is at threat. So it's very much a cat and mouse game for Deft on whether to walk up and reveal, or whether it's actually safe enough to take this inhibitor. It's going to be revealed on the control.
Yeah. Walks over it, knows that he's been seen though, so can book it towards getting into position for this Baron. Prowling Projectile does a little bit of damage to the minion wave as Root clears it out. Traces the portal jump, not going to be found with the Prey Seeker. Kingzone move over, looking to take their 4th Drake of the game, powering up that Elder Drake more than anything else because certainly,
Kingzone have been stalled out. This is definitely the last 8 minutes or so have been a lot slower for them. The TP being drawn out of Deft makes the piggyback plays that Kingzone have loved, where you send 2 TP users into the same lane and take an objective, a kill, maybe even in Nexus turret. Not possible. So right now, things are falling apart a little bit they don't have enough members to walk up and tank trouble bubbles, so they haven't been able to get everything on the map, right? Baron control and also threaten the inhibitor. So the Ocean Drake just being the 5th spawned Drake and also a 6th Drake coming that's Cloud isn't ideal for Kingzone, because the easy ways to finish, i.e. forcing a team fight, there's no Elder to draw Jin Air out of their hiding.
Well, Tucson looking to go in. Depth Charge is going to come out first. That's a nice double knock-up as Malrong's now in the backline, but by himself. Final chapter flying forward once again. Everyone going golden. The first dredge line is going to miss there as Deft does have the spell shield, but it's 2 kills for Jin Air. The boomerang's coming in. Rude takes so much damage as Neon sets up the Sun Turret, but he kills Deft, and that's the target they wanted.
Kingzone not group, but too far up. The force onto Deft is the right one. Malrong chooses a Sivir with no flash up, and they're able to get kills. Kingzone lose 3. Can Jin Air get anything? Kingzone want to walk up and stop Jin Air from turning on something like a Baron.
Exactly, lower health bars as well. Kingzone thinking that they can try and trade for something, but Cuz is on a ward now.
Minions are heading onto the inhibitor, and that is a lot of damage onto Cuz, but it does slow down recalls. There will be no inhibitor dying to minions. Watch the replay. Tucson walks up. Poke goes down, and again, Deft hasn't been able to use his E on everything. When Tucson gets chunked out, Malrong EQs and then says, wait, Deft is just free food in the front line. It takes a lot, but through stasis, they finally get their man.
Yeah, the final chapter was great just to make sure that those stopwatches were used so early and pinned Kingzone into a poor position. Neon was good to have this follow-up with the Sun Turret being erected, but the damage had already been done.
Kingzone going on to more standard comps are starting to worry you when it comes to being able to put down a team they are heavily expected to beat. It is 1v10, but it doesn't feel like that, even though we're very much in territory where Kingzone's teamfight comp, playing from ahead, should be able to find a lot of advantages. Jin Air is splitting them around. They're catching them when Neon or someone takes the wrong side lane wave. They haven't been able to return to the down inhibitor. That was at 18 minutes that inhibitor turret went down. Here's the engage.
Yeah, another dredge line comes in. Another final chapter is out there as well. Good knock up onto Malrong. First to go down at the hands of the Rek'Sai. Now Rascal slow, trying to get into the back line as Tucson bought so much time. Infernal Chains flashed out. A good double knock up there from Cuz straight into the Void Rush. Low health bars, but thankfully they have stayed alive as Tana escapes with a sliver of health. It is 1-for-1. No junglers remain, but that was way closer than it should have been.
Exactly. Rascal and Tana living on a prayer, not going down on sub 100 HP. Ezreal ulti. This is perfectly timed on the respawn. It would be awesome, but not going to happen in this game. We've seen that before from the bot lane. We back away, and still Kingzone can't get Jin Air to budge an inch. The inch would remain and represent Baron at this point, which would, of course, bring so much to Kingzone. But on the replay, Kingzone are finding it frustrating to get more than they already have.
Yeah, the you and me coming in there from the Yuumi as well. I feel like that baited out the hook because Malrong's a tank. He wants to be the one engaged on while everybody else fires from afar. Tucson wasn't the man that fell down in this fight, though. It was Kingzone attempting the follow-up, and then Kellen just always having that you and me, having the zoomies available, and Jin Air staying slippery enough to get out of the way.
This is going to be a really good VOD review for Kingzone Dragon X's coaching staff, Hirai and Acorn, because, again, they got a huge lead in a comp that should have been behind early, but they haven't been able to move it forward from 18 minutes when they took down the inhibitor.
Yeah.
Actually, the reason for that's on the screen. It's not on the team fight. It's on the top right of your screen. It's the mid lane outer turret is still up. So they've taken a lot of easier objectives, which inner turrets are actually pretty much easy objectives when you have the lead that you do and you can take over one side of the jungle.
Because you can snowball that
exactly.
advantage, right?
But the mid lane outer with decent wave clear and people rotating through mid is the needed turret to actually hit the next phase. And the next phase after the early game was Baron. Baron was what they should have been threatening, because guess what? You send your split push to the side lane, they have to send more people because they don't have an inhibitor turret. Stop Baron. That's how it goes. But when you don't have mid lane outer down, it becomes a lot harder to contest vision, to be able to actually make a serious Baron start, even with Azir Sivir damage being high. In the early game, it was a huge damage build coming through from Neon. So what we needed to see from Kingzone was contesting both sides closest to the mid lane outer and finding a way to thread that needle to take down the turret. Now they're trying to find harder win conditions, like a 39-minute Elder Dragon, in order to get over the line. So Kingzone's stall is because of their own mistakes, specifically around mid lane outer turret destruction.
Well, Kingzone now, with their 5th Drake, will have a very, very powered up Elder Drake, like you were talking about. Now, wanting to try and take a fight in their terms. This outer turret is low, although still alive, like you pointed out before, and Aatrox is knocking on the front door of Jin Air.
If you're wondering why mid lane outer turret's so important, it's not even just pushing out minions and giving you vision, it's also putting down the vision when you can retreat to your mid lane outer is a lot safer, right? It's a lot more narrow a playing field for the enemy to punish you, so even just setting up things like Baron defensive vision is way easier with mid lane outer turret down, especially from red side, where just controlling this area, it's so easy for Ezreal to queue over the wall, for Yumi to queue over the wall. Their checks and even trouble bubbles make Baron a very unrealistic start. So we get crazy stuff like this, where we're fighting between sand turret and inner turret, and they might just try to break the base again.
Yep, they're going to have the backdoor bonus coming in soon, but the shifting sands gets Neon out of the way. Tucson is once again going to be the sacrificial lamb, but can he actually get anything back off the side? The answer is no, but True Shot Barrage is not going to get any joy either. Kingzone lose their support, and there's nothing that they are able to gain.
It feels like they're trying to ride a hoverboard before they tie their shoelaces. That's what's happening here when you get these weird spots where you're fighting between an inner sand turret and the enemy's inhibitor turret when you already have a downed inhibitor turret in bot side. They're not able to return to any of their inruns. They're not able to get team fights because they're in such awkward positions. This is just chalk. Fingernails on a chalkboard for the coaching staff because they did so much right, and now Jin Air are just extending the game further and further, and we're getting into 40-minute territory before another 5 minutes.
And we've got a hell of a lot of damage waiting in a brush over here, as Kuz thinking about stalling out this minion wave. Not going to do so, is now deft and Neon. Move past it. Vision is now down in this brush. Every little pick is worth so much on Kingzone's side, but Jin Air may have just got themselves a reset or given away the Baron. There is a lot of damage potential here. There's a lot of wards.
There's so many zombie wards. Kingzone say, okay, I was wondering if they're going to start at Neon, hits the control ward, and you have solo Q flashbacks where you're trying to sneak a Baron and people don't know how vision toggles work. Well, they take down control wards. They've got a very clear pit. It's clear now. They start hitting it, and well, the Ezreal ult comes in, and they do this fast, but Malrong is right there.
Is it fast enough? As Neon is very, very low. Kingzone pull away immediately, not wanting to risk anything. Blue buff will go over to the Azir, but he's out of the fight for the moment, doesn't have teleport, and now Jin Air have control of the river on the top side. Once again, Kingzone try to go for a play. It doesn't work out, but you can see some of the frustration. Neon starting off that Baron, trying to force something, trying to get a way in, trying to take down Jin Air before the clock strikes 40 minutes.
But again, to really deep dive, because we're in a moment like that, we never feel this. Like, I'm going to say a point, which is a poke comp on red side can poke and contest Baron, so you can't finish the Baron because the right skill shots hit the jungler and he's dead, right? Instantly in a burst. The counterpoint is when you have mid lane outer turret down, the poke comp can't get to the Baron to contest the vision towards it, and thus they never get to poke around it because they just die walking over. But because it's such a short distance, they're so free to walk up and just start laying down 1,000 damage line skill shots that again it comes back to the pesky mid lane outer just being something Kingzone are being hard countered by.
Yep, and they're teleporting to it over and over again. Root, I mean, we've spoken about the Ezreal gets plugged into the mid lane in the mid game, but the mid game's been going until 38 minutes in this game.
We're in ultra late game by summer standards.
It's ridiculous, but this inhibitor turret is going to go down. The second of the game, Kingzone not going to take the inhibitor, however. On the hunt has been popped as Malrong going for a very deep flank. Root is going to be there also. He's got a GA. As Tucson pokes his head forward, this control ward going to go down. Jin Air don't pull the trigger.
Jin Air do not want to give a 5v4
it wasn't
scenario.
On the hunt. That was actually just a cloud break. I apologize, guys. The animation's a bit confusing as Malrong thinking about going for this fight. Cataclysm lands onto Tucson. The final chapter isn't great just yet as Tucson flashes. That's the value of the Gargoyle Stone Plate. They use their tank's full health bar, and he gets out with his flash.
And that means that a couple of ults are used. Flash and Ignite from Tucson.
Teleport from Deft as well.
They got the mid lane outer!
Oh, we did it. We did it.
Wow. I feel that Kingzone should have an appreciation day for that exact timer.
Where's the thread on Reddit?
Exactly.
outer turret goes down at 38.5 minutes. Appreciation thread.
And finally, Jin Air have now given maybe enough rope for Kingzone to actually catch someone. Well, it's a very definitely maybe scenario.
I was going to say, did you like that movie? Look.
It was in my I really love Ryan Reynolds in every movie.
Yeah, right?
Maybe for different reasons. For most people, it's because he's handsome. For me, it's because I really like Two Guys Ago in a Pizza Place.
Yep, I like that too.
Now, Van Wilder is something to talk about, but the Baron we'll talk about first.
Yeah, let's hold off on the Van Wilder talk as Kingzone looking to try and defend the Baron and take an Elder. No, they're going to pull off the Elder Drake. They're going to leave Neon to finish it off. He is going to get it. Now 4 members with the buff move into the pit. And it looks like it's been leashed for Kingzone to come and take. Because remember, this is a 5 Drake Elder buff and is doing so much damage if Kingzone can land some autos. Because with his Q, with the Hail of Blades tearing them apart, with that dot damage that can be applied so well. And Neon's just splitting the map. The poke has to be moved. And that's stolen now. No Baron going over to Kingzone. Neon has himself a Sun Turret, but Tana gets back to the mid lane. Neon might actually be routed here. Grace doesn't find the trouble bubble.
And they catch him!
Now, not going to get it. Neon has to flash. Rascal getting in. The Infernal Chains are down. Root going down so low, and Kingzone may have found their team fight. The ricochet damage is gigantic. And Jin Air had been playing the do-si-do for so long, and now only Tana remains. And remember, there are like no inhibitor turrets left.
Yeah, the game's going to end here. Atlas against Baron, most likely. The death timers are so long. Kingzone watched Jin Air win at the do-si-do, punch them in the face, and they might just steal their lunch money.
Yeah, you're hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Nexus turret number 2 will fall down, but not before Tana as the ace comes in. It is going to be Deft picking up that final kill. The Nexus goes down, and the beauty of it is the fact that the inhibitor turret in the mid lane remained available. Kingzone struggles in the mid, but elsewhere things were absolutely fine.
Jin Air was so steadfast in their defense of Baron and their frustration of Kingzone, and for that, you definitely give them S+. They deserve